Okay, so we've looked at completing the square, which was, half this number, and then how do I get from here to here? And the turning point is change the sign stays the same. So we looked at that, which is important. We looked at how to sketch out our quadratics when we're given the roots or given the turning point. And now we're going to solve our quadratics. Now that really just means find the roots. As we said before, you can think this basically means y is equal to something. And in this case, it's saying we'll solve that when y is equal to 0. So when is y equal to 0? Y is equal to 0 when this function crosses the x-axis. Okay. So when we say solve, we mean factorize to find the roots. So I'm looking for a number that adds to give me this and multiplies to give me that. Okay, so look. If you're not very good at this like me, you can just take your time, okay, and write out your factors. So what multiplies to give me 24? Well, 1 and 24, it's a good start. 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, then you're back to the beginning again. And then you look to say, okay, which ones here, have got a difference of 11, or add to give you 11. So these two, looks like these two, doesn't it? And then you think about what's going to be positive and what's going to be negative. So multiply and add. Yes, look at that, multiplying to be positive, but adding to be negative. So they must both be negative because two negatives make a positive. And if I then went to solve that, I'd be saying x is equal to 3 and x is equal to 8. Because if one of those brackets is 0, the whole thing becomes 0. Which means that your roots are 3 and 8. That's all that question means. Solve. The thing that's tricky, and we've been doing that for a long time, so that shouldn't be new, hopefully. The thing that's tricky is if it looks like this and it's 4 marks instead of 2. Like, wait a minute, I'm just doing 2 lines of working for 4 marks. No. Solve the equation, give your answer to 2 significant figures. That's the clue. And what this is basically indicating, and this will be in your calculator paper more than likely, is that we have to use our quadratic formula. So the roots of any quadratic are expressed in this way. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's our formula. You're given that formula, you don't have to worry about it. But this formula tells us the roots for any trinomial quadratic, any quadratic even, sorry, even if it doesn't factorize traditionally the way we've been doing. Okay, so you might get a number here like 1.76 or whatever. This always works. The only thing you really have to know is what's a, b, and c. A is a number in front of that, b is a number in front of that, and c is what's left over. So don't be fooled. If it was written like this, if it was written as 2x plus 4x squared take away 7, a, b, and c are still the same for this. Okay, it's not which number is first, second, and third. It's a is in front of x squared, b is in front of x. Okay, if there is no x or number afterwards, they would simply be 0. Okay, so let's go substitute in them. So x is equal to negative b, so that's negative 2, plus or minus the square root. So b squared, I'm just going to write 4 for that. And then this bit, put this in a bracket. This is where people make mistakes. Okay, 4 times a times c, all divided by 2a. I'll just write that as 4. Okay. And again, take your time with the work and don't be, lose any silly marks. All right. So 4 take away, and in the bracket there, it's going to be 16 times negative 7. So I'll just do a wee chimney sum on the side. 16 times 7. 7 sixes, 42. So like 4. And 2, 7, 1, 70, so 7, and 11, so 112. And that's a negative, isn't it? Yeah, so negative 102 divided by 8, all divided by 8. And that's then going to be negative 2 plus or minus the square root. If I add that together, it's 116 divided by 8. Now, so at this point, I'm going to break off into 2 sections, okay? I'm going to say negative 2 plus the square root of 116 over 8, and I'm going to do negative 2 take away the square root of 116 divided by 8. And you can do that on your calculator. Yeah, you can do that on your calculator. Just be careful that you do, depends on your calculator, but make sure that's all together because it's all divided by 8. Okay, it's all divided by 8. You should end up with these as your answers, and these are the x values of the roots of your equation. Now, we're not quite finished because remember I asked for 2 significant figures, so write it out like what you get in the calculator and then sort out your significant figures. So that's going to be 1.1, There's my two significant figures, and that's going to be negative 1.6. Okay, so don't round it here. Write the answer out and then round it. Okay, so I think the substitution bit should be quite straight for me. You're given this equation, so the substitution you should get to here. Okay, and you should know to use this because you should be thinking, well, I can't solve this to two significant figures by traditional means. So it has to be this formula. So know when to use it. There's a clue there. Okay, that we should get that. We should know how to substitute. Two negatives make a positive, and it's here the plus or minus. People aren't maybe used to using that, and that just means we're doing the equation twice, once with a plus and once with a minus, to give us our two different roots. Okay, so if I was drawing that out, I know it's a happy curve. I know that I've got a root at 1.1 and I've got a root at negative 1.6, doing something like that. Okay, that's all that saying. So an excellent 4 marker to get. You get to use your calculator. You have to remember the equation. Just take your time and don't make any arithmetic mistakes, and remember to round. So we try that one more time then. Okay, so again, have a go at this, pause the video, see if you get the same answer as me. Okay, so I'm going to label it up A, B, and C. I'm going to write negative B. Okay, so change the sign, so negative B plus or minus B squared is 81, and this goes in a bracket. Take away 4 times A times C, and that's divided by 2A, so that's 2 times 3. So plus or minus, so is that 12 times 2 is 24, so that's 81, and that'll become plus 24 divided by 6. And I think I'll just do one more line, so negative 9 plus or minus the square root, so that's going to be 105 divided by 6. And then, we're doing it twice, I'll try and use technology here, control, yeah, copy that, so I'm going to do it, oops, with a, oh, watch this, this is, they're going to get me on the BBC with these graphics, that's excellent. One with a plus, look at me change that seamlessly, and one with a negative over there, okay? So you've got two different, two different solutions from that equation, yeah? Don't know why I carried that on for so long, that looks so messy. I hate that, and that's awful. I'm gonna have to change that. That just looks so awful. Oh no, so awful. I don't know what it is about writing on computers. It always seems worse. And then we'll use our calculators for the last bit. Okay, so again, just watch you get your brackets correctly. Put round or you hit the equals button or something, but just be careful. It's this whole term divided by 6. And this question asks for it to 1 decimal place. So to 1 decimal place, that's just 0.2, and this is going to be negative 3.2. Fantastic. So a great question to get, I think, because again, you're just doing some substitution, you're filling in a formula you're given, you have to remember it. It's a great question to have. So know when to use this. When you see solve the equation, which means find the roots, to 1 decimal place, or basically use a calculator, that's when you want to deploy this. Okay, fantastic. And very last question here. I'll do this actually. No, I'll do these in a different video actually. I'll do these in a different one. So yeah, hope that's helpful.